Let's go into the lesson. As I do each week, before we go into the lesson, we give all praises to Ahaya in the name of his son Yeshaya, through the Holy Spirit Rawah, who have allowed us through the Spirit to compile this information and gave us the spirit of discernment and edification to be able to teach the understanding that came before us. The lesson we have today is the four beasts of Daniel, chapter 7. Now, some people may ask, why is this lesson important? Well, the lesson is important based on the fact that the prophets in old time, in the Old Testament, would ask the Most High, how long will it be before you deliver the kingdom back to your people? So what the Most High did, he gave a timeline, which is the Bible. The Bible is a timeline. And things or kingdoms that we would need to go through, and certain things that would need to happen as signs before he, the Most High, delivered his people Israel. So he was showing Daniel all the kingdoms of the earth that would need to come before we are delivered as a people. And that's why I like to go into Daniel 7. Of course, you have a lot of different teachers out there teaching Daniel 7 without the correct understanding. All right? Especially these so-called Christian teachers. Usually they are what you would call the right-wing, prophetic, white teachers in Christianity. I mean, it's far in between, but I don't think I've ever seen any black evangelists or black teachers or people of color breaking down the prophecies concerning the book of Daniel. Okay, have you? Maybe.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, if you have, then let me know. But I usually this comes from those who've enslaved us, and they be butchering the scriptures, and of course they would butcher them. The scriptures are not theirs. Okay, so they're teaching from the theologians or from the understanding of the Jesuit or the dark or black order of the Roman Catholic Church, which are sorcerers. Now, it's important for us to understand the kingdoms so that we'll know not only the true prophecies concerning these kingdoms, but how long we have as a people under these captivities. And also, it gives us confirmation that the scriptures are 100% correct. Why? Because a lot of these kingdoms and a lot of these things that Daniel was shown did not happen during his time. So if they happen at a later date, then that's prophecy fulfilled and confirmation that the Bible is 100% correct. So when you get atheists and others trying to claim that the Bible is not true, usually I'll take them straight to Daniel's and ask him, okay, well, how did Daniel know this? Okay, if the Bible is not true, how could he see all the kingdoms in their order and break down exactly how each of them would come to power and what empire would take down another empire? How would he know this? And usually an atheist would go into Nostradamus. Well, Nostradamus said many things. I'm like, okay. You give me some information of Nostradamus and show me Nostradamus showing all the kingdoms that would take down another kingdom up until our present time. So get him out of here too. He was a warlock looking through a black mirror. I'm not dealing with that guy. He was a Satanist. I'll say so. No, we're not into Nostradamus. All right. We're talking about some serious prophecy. So this world would like to uphold Nostradamus over the scriptures, and that's what atheists do. They go straight to a sorcerer and try to compare that to true prophecy. You can't do it. How did Daniel know exactly what empire would come after the next empire? And of course, the other nations can't teach this. Why? Because Daniel is actually telling us what empire that would rule our people until the Most High set us free. It wasn't a timeline for everyone. It was a timeline for us. Because the other nations don't want their kingdoms to end. We are looking for a new kingdom, not them. So these prophecies we hold dear. Why? Because it's a timeline the Most High gave us to let us know how long we'll be in this captivity before we're saved. Okay? Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 6 and 54. I want to read this first. And more proof that the prophets were crying out to the Most High concerning our condition and asking the Most High, how long will you let these heathens rule over us? Read.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord over all thy creatures, of him come we all.
We all come from Adam.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
And the people whom also he have chosen. Who the chosen people? We are. Read.
Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
Because the world was made for our sake. So when the Most High created the world, he was thinking of us. Read.
Verse 56. As for the other people.
As the other people.
Which also come of Adam.
Which also come out of Adam.
Thou hast said, they are nothing.
Thou have said that they are what?
Nothing.
The Most High says all the other nations that came out of Adam are nothing. What does that mean? Are they something? Are they people? Of course they're people. But when it comes to prophecy, when it comes to the book, it's not speaking of them. The prophecies surround God's people. It's all about the fall and rise of his people. So when it comes to prophecy, he's not really looking at the nations like that. Okay? He's not doing this to raise Ishmaelites. He's not doing this to one day raise Hamites or to raise Edomites. He's doing this to one day raise the chosen people whom he gave the promise from their father Abraham, father Isaac, father Jacob. That's what this is all about. Read.
But be like unto spittle.
So it's like unto spittle. That's what the nations are to the Most High. Why? Spit is something that just go out and that have no value concerning your purpose. You will not lose anything from that spit. You would still be able to survive and do what you need to do. The Most High looks at them as that. Why? Because they're not the major focus. Israel is. Why? Because that's his promise. So when it comes to prophecy, it's about his people. Even when he explained all the empires that would come into the earth, it's to let us know, give us an indication of how long we have before we're saved. Read.
And is likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
So all of them together, if you put all the nations together outside of Israel, they're counted to him as dust. Something that dropped from a vessel. And that's the Bible. And of course they can't teach this in church. Because in church they tell you that everyone's the same, no one's different. Which is a total lie. Society itself tells you that people are different. Okay? Society itself shows you that there's something different about other people. That everyone is not the same. We all don't dance alike. We don't sing alike. We don't operate the same. We don't pray alike. We don't worship alike. We're different. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they try to promote something in church as if everyone is the same, there's no differences. That's a lie. That means you can't even perceive reality. That means you can actually get programmed into ignoring what you see every day. No one is the same. No nation is the same. That's why the Most High call us a peculiar people. We're different. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to feel like you're offending someone being you. You're different. And that's why all nations envy you. They take things from you. Okay? They respect the spirit in you as long as they can utilize it for themselves. So there's something special about you. Okay? Read.
Verse 57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen which have ever been reputed as nothing,
These heathen who have been ever reputed as nothing,
have begun to be lords over us,
they have become lords over us. They've become our masters now. The people who was nothing at one time. Read.
and to devour us.
And now they are working to devour and take us out. Go ahead.
Verse 58. But we thy people whom thou hast called thy firstborn,
We are the firstborn of the Most High. Read.
thy only begotten,
We are the only begotten, which means out of all people of the earth, the Most High is our God. The other nations have angels or gods over them. We're the only people the Most High himself said, listen, I'm not going to put any angels over you as a nation. I will be your God. Read.
thy fervent lover,
The fervent lover. Read.
are given into their hands.
And we're given unto their hands for a time. Read.
Verse 59. If the world now be made for our sakes,
And then Ezra asks, well, Lord, if the world is made for our sake,
why do we not possess an inheritance with the world?
why don't we have anything? Why is it that we have to ask for everything? See, the prophets asked the same questions. If we the chosen people, why is it that we have to go to them for jobs? Why is it we're on the bottom and they're on the top? Why does it seem they're smarter and more educated? Which they're not. They're not really. They've just systematically dumbed us down and kept us separated from key education that would topple them. It's not that we're dumb. You're only as smart as what you are exposed to. If they can limit our exposure, they can keep us dumbed down and control us. See? That's why they made these cities, these projects. That's why they put certain schools in our neighborhoods in which they would teach you only the level of education to serve. See? Then they made it an enterprise where if you can jump through a hoop or jump up and run, then if you can make them money, then they'll give you just enough education to run a football or put a basketball in the hoop. But you will never learn how to what? Run the business of a basketball team. And don't give me Jay-Z either. He ain't doing nothing. Okay? They will never give you the education. The Ivy League education, because you don't belong. You're not a part of their satanic, systematic system of control. Okay? So they will never let you to the point where you own these things. You are a servant. Read.
How long shall this endure?
So Ezra asks, a prophet, how long will this endure? How long will our people be in this condition? Read.
That's not that.
So, some people ask how long? Well, Daniel was shown how long. Let's go to the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
The four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Read that again.
Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
Strove upon the great sea. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
And 4 great beasts came out from the sea, different than the other. See? They were all different. Now I need you to hold that and get Revelations 13 and 1 so we can get some understanding here of what is Daniel seeing here.
Revelations chapter 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead.
And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names, or the name of blasphemy.
Go ahead.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
Go ahead. Remember the bear. Remember the lion. Read.
And the dragon gave him his power,
Go ahead.
and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Go ahead.
Verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast.
So the Satan, who's the dragon, give power to these kingdoms. Read.
And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
Go ahead.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle.
To blaspheme his name and his tabernacle. So whoever sets up these beasts or kingdoms will blaspheme the Most High's name, as they have done, eradicated his name out of the earth, and no one know that he's the great I am. Go down to where it says that these are nations and tongues. Go there.
That's Revelation 17.
Yeah, let's go there. Remember the bear and the lion.
Revelation chapter 17, verse. Revelation chapter 17, verse 7.
Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, I'll start at verse 15. Revelation 17 and 15.
Go ahead.
And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth,
Is what?
are peoples,
Peoples
and multitudes,
and multitudes
and nations,
and nations
and tongues.
and tongues. Go back to Daniel 7 with that understanding.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 2.
Let's start at 1.
Verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream in visions of his head upon his bed.
And this was 555 BC, a half a century before Christ came. Read.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
Strove upon the great sea. Read.
Verse 3.
And that sea was out of what? Nations, kindreds, and tongues. So what is Daniel seeing? He's seeing a spirit that is striving, the 4 spirits striving on the world over all people. And out of these people will come nations who are controlled under Satan that will rule our people. That's what he's seeing here. Out of every nation and kindred and tongue. So the Most High is choosing nations that would rule over us for a time. That's what we're seeing here. Right? Read the second verse.
Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night.
So he was asleep. Go ahead.
And behold, the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea.
So these are 4 angels of the heavens striving amongst the nations to rise powers or kingdoms. See that? Read.
Verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
So out of these nations and kindred and tongues, 4 great empires came out that Daniel seen in this vision. And each beast was different from one another. So what is this showing? These beasts are not men. These beasts are empires. These are kingdoms that must rule in the earth. That's what Daniel is seeing. So when they teach you about the mark of the beast, which I'm going to go into later, It have nothing to do with some antichrist coming. It's speaking of an empire or government. Here's more proof of that. Keep going.
Verse 4. The first was like a lion.
The first was like a lion, read.
And had eagle's wings.
And had eagle's wings.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
And that man's heart is Nebuchadnezzar. And when it talks about the body of a lion, and it talks about the wings, that's the actual statue of Nebuchadnezzar, or the Babylonian Empire. So Daniel is seeing the Babylonian Empire rule, who eventually took down our people in Israel, right? And it says it was made to stand. Let's go back to where it was made to stand.
This is the middle of verse 4.
Go ahead.
And it was lifted up from the earth.
It was lifted up from the earth.
And made to stand upon the feet as a man.
And made to stand upon his feet as a man. Now this is identified as what? The Babylonian Empire. The Babylonian Empire that ruled our people after we fell. 539 BC. From 626 to 539 BC is your Babylonian Empire. We were taken down. Read.
And a man's heart was given to it. Verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear.
Like unto a bear. Remember, you seen a lion in Revelations 13, and you seen a bear. Show you the precepts mesh flawlessly. Now here's the bear. Why? Because a lion is on all four. The wings represent how swiftly they were able to go through the Babylonians and take over when Satan was operating with the Babylonian Empire. That's where you get Nimrod, Semiramis, the virgin child. All that whole religion now is being promoted throughout the earth. The same as how the Romans later started bringing forth their own Babylonian, what you would call traditions. Whoever rules controls religion. So there's no separation between religion and state. Whoever rules controls the beliefs within that kingdom. So the Babylonian kingdom, they was worshiping who? The Queen Mother of Heaven, the virgin child Tammuz. Same thing. See that? Next is what? Like unto a bear. That is the Persian Medo Empire. The Persian Medo Empire. Why? Because instead of it being on four legs and running like a lion, now it had two legs like a bear standing up. Why? Because it was two separate empires. Persians on one side, Medes on the other. Like a bear. Standing on two legs. Right? Read.
This is the middle of verse 5. And it raised up itself on one side.
And it raised up himself on one side. Go ahead.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it. What 3 ribs? The 3 ribs of the kingdoms it took down that preceded it. Okay? It took down 3 empires. Okay? And another beast, second like unto a bear. We're talking 539 to 330 BC. Flawlessly, right after the Babylonian Empire fell, who arose? The bear. Who's the modern day Persian Medo Empire? The Iranians. See that? So all the other empires were totally destroyed under the Persian Empire. And that's where they got the movie, if you haven't seen it already, the movie 300. What 3 ribs was in its mouth? Babylon, because they had to take down Babylon to rule. Lydia and Egypt. Now, all these 3 great empires were now paying tribute to who? Paying tribute to Persia. At one time, Iran was a superpower. See that? Now, mind you, look at the fact that all these empires that they're taking down, and you would never guess the people who are building and are strengthening their empire. Guess who it was? Us. You notice all the kings had the prophets close to them and wanted our people, our prophets, to acknowledge their God and used us to work and build their empire. No matter what kingdom it was, they always had Judah close to them. We would always be at the neck of our enemy. You understand? So every empire that you go into, you'll find us. Why? Because the prophecies was whoever ruled these people will be blessed. Wherever these people are, that kingdom would come to its height. So that's why all the kingdoms fight for us, to have us under them, because they need our blessings. They need us to be there. As we awaken, that lets them know how long they have. You understand? Well, we no longer go for their games anymore. And that's why the last empire, which we are going to soon, America, Babylon, are looking to come at us now. Because they can't control us or use us. They can only use us when we are subservient. But let's go back. The next empire we're talking is what? The Persian Medo Empire. All right? Now, the Persian Empire also linked in with Edom, which we know is Haman. When you go into the book of the Persians, in the book of Esther, they also linked in. The Edomites linked in with Persia to try to destroy us in Esther, the 2nd chapter. But eventually, the Most High put a spirit on Esther and took the king's head. And I like to put that out there every chance I get, especially around the time of Purim. Why? Because people out there try to downplay the power of our sisters and not realizing that our sisters have power. They just haven't had any direction in how to utilize that power, because we downplay them just because they're women. But sisters are very strong in every area. Okay? It's just that we, in our curse, have disrespected their positions. But they are very, very, very spiritually cold when they're utilized in the spirit of Sarah. When they understand what they are and operate in the spirit of our mother Sarah. Our sisters are cold in that way. And that's where they get the concept, believe it or not, of a queen from, on a chessboard, which is the most strongest piece on a chessboard. And I like to go there when it comes to our sisters, because we look at everyone else as something, opposed to how powerful our sisters was, like Sister Esther, who helped us while we were under the Persian captivity. So that must be acknowledged too. What are the dates of this? Again, we're talking dates, and I'm going to go through this because there's a few things I need to speak about. So I'm going to take a different angle, and instead of going into all the history that you have in your lessons, I want to go into the mark of the beast aspect on this particular lesson. All right? But now we identified the Babylonian, Persian Medes, 539 to 330 BC, which were the Iranians. So the Iranians once enslaved us too. See that? Read on.
This is the end of verse 5.
Go ahead.
And they said thus unto it, Arise, and devour much flesh.
Go ahead.
Verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Okay, I need you to hold that. I need you to go to Daniel's 8 and 8.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great.
The he-goat waxed very great. Who's the he-goat? You're talking about Alexander the Greek. Alexander the Greek, who came down off the mountain with leopard skin. It's even in history books that show Alexander the Greek. He's nothing great about him. They call him Alexander the Great. Nothing great about him. Okay, Alexander the Greek came off the mountains with what? Leopard skin. That's why it says one like unto a leopard. How would Daniel know that their leader would be wearing leopard skin? Years before it happened. Hundreds of years before it happened. Read.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great,
The he-goat waxed very great,
and he was strong. The great horn was broken, for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
four notable ones. So what happens? There were four generals under Alexander the Greek that came up like the four winds of heaven. What does that mean? They would have power to take out all the countries around. They had the spirit of might to take down all the countries that was round about them. And we're going to go into those four generals in a moment. Read.
Verse 9.
Go to the 22nd verse.
Verse 22.
Go ahead.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up forward, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation.
Four kingdoms stood up out of the nations that stood up out of Alexander the Greek. Go ahead.
But not in his power.
But not in his power. So whose power will they be using? Satan's. Read.
Verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the fore, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Later came Antiochus Epiphanes. But before I get into that, let's first go into these four generals to show you that it's in prophecy of Alexander the Greek and his four generals that Daniel foreseen hundreds of years before it happened. Who was the next empire? Around 330, 333 BC? Yes, the Grecians. The Grecians is the next empire. Let's go into the Apocrypha real quick. And we're going to start at Maccabees, the first chapter. Go ahead.
First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. And it happened that after Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian.
It says son of Philip the Macedonian because the Edomites, the Agagite, which was an Amalek, went into the Persian Empire to try to destroy us. Okay? The Agagite. He was the great-grandfather of who? Philip the Macedonian, who's a Greek or an Amalek or Jewish today, who became the father of who? Alexander, who was also, if he was living today, would be Jewish. Read.
Who came out of the land of Kedar, had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
He reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Read.
Verse 2. And made many wars and won many strongholds.
Go ahead.
And slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him.
Go ahead.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
Go ahead.
And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
Go ahead.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable.
He called his four generals. Read.
Which had been brought up with them from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them.
He parted his kingdom among the four generals. Exactly. This is Maccabees. This is Maccabees, which actually goes into the Greek Empire. This is a fulfillment of the book of Daniel, of how he said that the leopard would come and the kingdoms would be split in four parts. What four parts? Read.
While he was yet alive. Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years.
He reigned 12 years.
And then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
See that?
So did their sons after them many years.
So they put crowns on themselves, which means they got dominion. Read.
and evils were multiplied in the earth.
And they began to teach evils in the earth, predominantly what they call homosexuality. Greeks were known sodomites. Till this day, it's part of their natural culture. The Bible tells you that their seed is of the seed of Sodom. Right? Now, when you look at this, there was 4 generals that came out of Alexander the Greek. I don't call him Alexander the Great. The Western world do. Here's the 4 generals. Cassandra, who ruled Macedonia and Greece. Seleucus, who ruled Syria. Ptolemy, who ruled Egypt. And Lysimachus, who ruled Asia Minor. Okay? So these are the 4 generals who began to deal with conquest and taking out different lands and bringing forth their religion, their pagan religion, and forcing it on other societies. Alexander did it better than anyone. The Romans perfected it, but not before Alexander showed them how to do this. Let's go back to Daniel.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7.
Let's read 7.
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible.
Now this 4th beast that we're reading of here is dreadful and terrible. Read.
And strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go ahead.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
It was different than all the other beasts that came before it. So this beast right here would be more deadly than all the empires that preceded it. Let's find out who this beast is. Hold that and let's go to Daniel's 2 and 40.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 40.
Go ahead.
And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron.
Shall be strong as iron.
For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things.
Go ahead.
And as iron breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron.
Part of potter's clay and part of iron. Listen to this clearly, because something key is going to come here. What made the Romans greater than all the other empires. Read.
The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
The iron mixed with miry clay. Go ahead.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay.
Go ahead.
So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Partly strong, partly broken. Read.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
They shall mingle themselves with the what?
With the seed of men.
With the seed of men. Showing you that the Romans were what? Part Nephilim. Going right back to the sons of God that came down and slept with women. It says they shall do what?
They shall mingle themselves.
They shall mingle themselves
with the seed of men.
With the seed of men. So if they're mingling themselves with the seed of men, these are angels dealing with people. So the Romans were known as what? I'm talking about the hierarchy. Demigods. See that? So it talks about how their hierarchy would be direct descendants of the Horites, or those who in Genesis 36, when Esau mixed his seed with the Horites. And this is how they identified the bloodline through family. See that? Let's go back to Daniel 7 and 7.
Daniel chapter 7 verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and beheld a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go ahead.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
It was different than all the beasts that came before it.
And it had 10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. Now before you go there, let's go to Daniel 7 and 19. A few we're going to hit here.
Verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast.
Then I will know the truth of the 4th beast.
Which was diverse from all the others.
It was different than all the other empires that came before it. Why? Rome was a little different because the other empires, they ruled predominantly from the areas in which they were made a nation. The Persians ruled in Persia. The Greeks ruled in Grecia. You had the Babylonians ruled in Iraq or Babylon. Well, the Romans were a little different. The Romans were able to expand their empire outside of their borders by conquest. So the Roman Empire just expanded. It wasn't just one area. It wasn't just Italy. It expanded. Each country it took down, which were the 10 horns of it, became Rome. See that? So it expanded itself like some type of insatiable monster. It would take down countries, and these countries would automatically become Rome. Similar to how America takes down. And every country they go, they leave a military base there. What is that doing? When they leave a military base, that means they have taken the country. Why? If a country is strong enough to fight on its own, it doesn't need a foreign military occupying its space. So when you put your military in a country, you're sending a message that that country belongs to you. Who began this? The Roman Empire. All right? You got that? Read that last part again then.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 19.
Go ahead.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. And again, the beast is not a man. It's a government under Satan. Read.
Which was diverse from all the others.
It was different from all the others. Read.
Exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass.
Go ahead.
Which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up.
So there was 10 horns and another that came up we're going to speak of, which we know as America. But we're going to identify these 10 horns also, which is part of the Roman Empire. Let's go down to 23rd verse there.
Verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth.
It shall be the fourth what?
Kingdom upon the earth.
So what is a beast?
The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth.
When you see the word beast, it's kingdom. That destroys the Christian philosophy of the beast being an antichrist man. See that? The fourth beast shall be a what?
The fourth kingdom upon the earth.
Shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth. A beast is a kingdom. What kingdom? The kingdom that rules our people are identified as beasts. See? Read on.
The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms.
It shall be different from all other kingdoms. Go ahead.
And shall devour the whole earth.
And shall devour the whole earth. They took down the whole earth. You don't believe me? Look what happened. Who do you think sent conquistadors and explorers to the New World America? It was the Roman Catholic Church, wasn't it? So Rome is whom it's speaking of here. But there was a little horn that came out of Rome. We're going to talk about her too. But before we do, hold that. Let's go back to Revelation 13 and let's identify these 10 horns.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a great beast rise up out of the sea.
So now, that's the same vision. John is looking into the waters. He's having a vision of the waters, and these are people. Read.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns. Why? Because Rome sits on 7 mountains. I'm going to show you that soon. Read.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
10 crowns. Read.
And upon his head the name of blasphemy.
So 10 crowns or 10 kingdoms came out of Rome, and out of his mouth came what?
The name of blasphemy.
The name of blasphemy. So what would come from this empire? Lies. Lies would come from them, and they would teach us lies. When you go to the 10 horns, let's read them in succession, all 10.
Luxembourg, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, France, Spain, Great Britain, Switzerland.
These are the 10. The original 10. Of course, they're interchangeable today because they have renamed certain lands over in Europe. But these are the original names of the 10, which was part of what? Rome. Rome. When you see places like Romania and Russia and all those different areas, that's Rome, brothers and sisters. Don't fall for the Russia against America game. That's the good cop, bad cop ploy. They're all the same. Okay. Let's go down and let's break down in Revelations 13 those 7 mountains, when it gives us the understanding down there. In Revelations 13, when it breaks down sitting on 7 mountains. The seven heads thou sawest. I'll get it here.
That's Revelation 17.
Let's get Revelation 17.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 3.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
I seen a woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast,
full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Name of blasphemy, linking right to Revelations 13, having what?
7 heads and 10 horns.
7 heads and 10 horns. Read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones.
That means she was dealing in royalty and power. Read.
Having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Now, what was in her cup? What was in her cup? Lies. Lies. Let's go to Isaiah, where it tells us, we stagger, but not with wine.
Isaiah chapter 29, verse 9.
Go ahead.
Stay yourselves and wonder.
Stay yourselves and wonder.
Cry ye out and cry.
Cry ye out and cry.
They are drunken, but not with wine.
What people are drunken? It's talking about us. We're drunken, but not with wine. We have sipped the wine from the whore's cup. So when the Most High look down on his people and see us, it's like a drunken man staggering out, or a drunken woman staggering out of a pub or a tavern or a bar. Why? We stagger from one religion to the next. If it ain't Islam, it's Christianity. If it ain't Christianity, it's Buddhist. If it ain't Buddhist, it's I don't believe this, or it's Africanism or Egyptology. So the Most High is looking at us as if we are drunken with all types of philosophy. And this happened when the Romans came over here with the Masonic agenda of operating the country, or America, with the freedom of religion, knowing that the only people who would be searching for religion is us. They didn't make freedom of religion so that they could worship all these different religions. It was so that we could stagger from one to the next. So it says, we're drunken, but not with wine.
They stagger, but not with strong drink.
They stagger, but not with strong drink. So it's not talking about a physical wine in the whore's cup. It's talking of a spiritual wine that comes from what? Religion, philosophy. It comes from spiritual fornication, idolatry, the teaching of idolatry. Okay? So that was what was in the woman's cup. A cup filled with blasphemy. You will drink of this cup and say, you know what? I don't got to follow no laws. The laws are done away with. The Most High is looking at you, you're drunk. If the laws are done away with, then how will I judge you? With no law. So you're drunk when you're sitting there reading the Bible and believing that God's law is done away with. Someone have slipped you a spiritual Mickey. You know, even though I'm joking, to some, but something is wrong with you if you think there's no law. You've been drunk. That's what was in the whore's cup, filled with blasphemy and lies. It would make you believe that the Most High's word is not true, or you don't have to follow it. Read.
Verse 10. For the Most High hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep.
And because that the Most High has poured out upon us the spirit of what?
Deep sleep.
Of deep sleep. See? So when you drink of this wine, you fall asleep. You delusional. See that? Read.
And have closed your eyes, the eyes, Salakia, and have closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered.
And why have he covered them? Because the majority of your prophets, teachers, your ministers are taught by the whore. It is as if the whore poured out caverns of wine, gave everyone a craft and say, here's your Baptist church, here's your Catholic church, here's your Jehovah's Witness church. Now you go pour that out and give it to the community. When really, she has the great cup pouring in all of them. Blasphemy and lies. Pay your taxes. Don't follow laws. Follow government. See? Read.
Verse 11. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed.
See that? So when you drink of this blasphemous liquid that's in the whore's cup, the book become closed. You can open it, but you'll never understand it. Why? Because you're reading it drunk. See, they get to you first. The Christian church gets to you first. And now it's the perception of how you view the Bible. Now you cannot, even though the words are there, you'll never understand it unless the Most High wake you up and slap you out of your sleep. Then you will start to say, well, okay, I see it now. You cannot view it through the whore's cup. So unless you're born again, and that's literal, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. That means you have to actually take everything you learned before you seen the truth and burn it and start new. That's what being born again is. Walking in newness of spirit, newness of life in your mind, the renewing of your mind. Why? Because all of us at some point was drunken with the great whore's wine. See? Let's go back to Revelations.
Revelations chapter 17. Jump down to verse 9.
Go ahead.
And here is the mind which have wisdom.
Here is the mind that have wisdom.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains.
So if you have wisdom, understand whom the Most High is speaking of. The 7 heads have what?
The 7 heads are 7 mountains.
Now, how did Daniel would know about the 7 heads and the future of the Roman Empire, and that's the Most High showed him years later? What year was the Roman Empire? You're talking about what, 150 BC?
146.
146, around 1.5 centuries BC. See that? So here it is, what? Daniel seen this, what, almost 300 years in advance? Finish reading.
And here is the mind which have wisdom.
Here's the mind that have wisdom.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Rome sits on 7 mountains. See that? That lets us know the lies would come from this whore. Who did she set up this to create the theologian seminary schools that would teach the world? Black sorcerers, called not black in color, but black in their ideology. They're called the black part of the Roman Catholic Church. Black sorcerers or Jesuits. They were behind the magic to make people believe lies opposed to what they read. That's why when you read the Bible as it is written, someone will look at you and say, well, that's your interpretation. Well, listen, brother, this is not an interpretation. This is what it says. There is no interpretation. The Bible tells you no scripture is of any private interpretation, which means every word is exactly what it is. No word of the Most High is of any private interpretation, but they open you up to that. Why? Because they base their whole religion off of lies and say, well, I don't have to believe what you're saying because that's your interpretation. I'm going to deal with the whore's cup. You know, I'm going to deal with what's in this cup. That's my interpretation. See? Finish reading.
Verse 10. And there are 7 kings.
There are 7 kings.
5 are fallen.
5 are falling.
And 1 is.
And 1 is, listen to this clearly.
And the other is not yet come.
And the other is not yet come. So don't tell me America was not prophesied in the Bible. See? Because it was, in Revelations, it was telling you about the empire that was there and one that was to come. And that one that would come would stay what? For a short space. To let you know that this empire, which is America, would have the shortest span of rulership compared to all the beasts that came before it. So yes, America is written. It's the beast out of the great whore that in Revelations that said it will come and stay a short space. So some people might ask, well, why isn't it called America? Well, how can it be called America if America wasn't here yet, wasn't in the earth at that time? The same way during Daniel's time, it wasn't calling the 4th beast Rome. That's like someone during the Roman Empire, and you identifying all the evils of the Roman Empire. The disciples were doing that. They were showing people that this was that Rome was the 4th beast. It's like you prophesying in Rome, and it's like, well, Rome is not written of in the Bible. You can't show me anywhere where it says Rome, but it says the 4th beast, and it identifies the 4th beast. So when people say, well, you can't show me America in the Bible, you can say, well, it's the beast that was prophesied after Rome. And you go there and show the empire that would come and stay a short space. Why? Because the empires, some of these empires ruled 300 years in their power. And America, really, when it comes to their conquest and taking down the earth, they haven't ruled that long. America took the majority of its time just taking down America. They didn't take down the whole world. They just began to go to the other world and take the rest of the world down. But these empires were able to immediately take down all their adversaries. We're at the end of America's empire, and they just began to take down the other lands. So that's why it says America would only go a short space. See? Finish reading.
Verse 11. And the beast that was and is not.
And the beast that was and is not.
Even he is the 8th.
Even he is the 8th.
And is of the 7th.
And is of the 7.
And goeth into perdition.
To let you know it will be destroyed. That's why I say it was and it is not. That means that empire is the same empire as Babylon. It's the same empire as Rome, but it really is not. Why? Because at that time, it was not here yet. And eventually, it would go into perdition, which means it will be destroyed. Now, when that happens, that will be the beginning of Israel's freedom. Remember when I started this lesson and saying, listen, the Most High is going to give us a timeline? When that place is judged, that will be the beginning of Israel's freedom. Let's go back to Daniel. Let's go back and let's do a recap on the 4th beast.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 7.
Go ahead.
And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible.
Dreadful and terrible. We know that's the Roman Empire.
And strong exceedingly.
And how do you break it down and know that it's the Roman Empire? You go to Revelation 17, which says that it sits on 7 mountains. See? And the only empire that ruled that sat on 7 mountains in the earth of ancient time, or modern time for that matter, is Rome. See? Read.
dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue at the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before
It
it.
was different than all the empires before it.
And it had 10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. All right, that means it had tentacles. It had attachments, other countries that joined league with it that made it a superpower. Read.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn from before, where there were 3 of the first horn plucked up.
Where there was 3 plucked up. So we know that one horn, that last horn, would come from the 3. Now think about it. What 3 of the 10 horns make America? You got it. The French, yeah, the Spanish, who took over South America, the conquistadors, and what? Great Britain, that took over North America. Those 3 came out of what? The 10 horns. See? So the 3 was plucked up, and what came out of the 3? You got it. America. And that's why America's emblem is the eagle. The eagle is Esau's emblem, is Europe's emblem, is Rome's emblem. See? Finish reading.
This is the end of verse 7.
Go ahead.
And it stamped the residue at the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
It had 10 horns.
Verse 8. I considered the horns and said, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Go ahead.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man,
The eyes like the eyes of man,
and a mouth speaking great things.
and a mouth speaking great things against the Most High. And you must be bold to set up a country and claim that the laws are done away with, that you can have the freedom to worship any God you want, to make your own laws, which is the Constitution, and hold that more dear than the Bible's laws. Read.
Verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down,
And Daniel looked, and he stayed in this dream until he seen all the empires crumbled and destroyed. That means he looked or beheld until he seen in this dream all the kingdoms destroyed. He seen the lion die. He seen the bear die. Okay? He seen the great leopard die. All these empires. He seen the great Rome destroyed. He even seen the little horn destroyed. So Daniel was shown the very end of all these empires that are ruling us. Read on.
and the Ancient of Days did sit,
Who's the Ancient of Days? The Most High. Read.
whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool.
He beheld, he looked until he seen a silhouette of the Most High sitting on the throne with a white bush, with a white woolly bush. Why does it call the Most High the Ancient of Days? Our God, our Father, is before days. He created days. He created time. A matter of fact, when he created the earth began to be the dial like on your clock. That began time. In the beginning, the Most High created the heavens and the earth. He had these elements begin to move, just like a hand on a clock. And that's time. Okay? He's the Ancient of Days, the creator of time. Read.
His throne was like the fiery flame,
And the Most High sit on a throne of pure fire. Read.
and his wheels as burning fire.
And his wheels as burning fire. So, speaking of the chariots. And also it's speaking of the portals. So the wheels is deeper than just vehicles. They're also spiritual roads into our realm called portals. Read.
Verse 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him,
Go ahead.
and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
The judgments were set and the books were open. Read.
Verse 11. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain.
And Daniel seen this vision until he seen the beast slain. The last empire. Read.
I beheld till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame.
And his body, what?
Given to the burning flame.
Given to the burning flame. Read.
Verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts,
The rest of the empires,
they had their dominion taken away,
they had their power taken away,
yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
but their lives were prolonged for a season and time. Why? Because the nations, out of the nations, will serve Christ. Read.
Verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days.
So he also seen Christ coming to the Father, being taken to the throne to shed his blood on the heavenly tabernacles. He seen a future prophecy of Christ being brought up into the heavens, taken to the throne to finish it, to put his blood on the heavenly tabernacle so that we could one day be set free. Now let's show you what he's seen in the future. Here's Daniel seeing the vision. He awakened. And I'm going to show you in the future what he's seen. Hold it and get Acts 1 and 9.
The book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 9.
Go ahead.
And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up,
Go ahead.
and a cloud received him out of their sight.
And it says, and a cloud received Christ out of his sight. This was after Christ's resurrection, after he presented himself to the disciples. He says he went up in a great cloud, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Right while they were looking at it. Read.
Verse 10. And while they looked steadfastly
And while the disciples were looking in the air,
toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel,
two angels stood. Read.
which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven?
Go ahead.
This same Yeshua which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in the like manner,
The same way you see him going up, he's coming back.
as ye have seen him go into heaven.
Now go back to Daniel and read that part again.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven,
Came with the clouds of heaven,
and came to the Ancient of Days.
and came to the Ancient of Days. He came to Christ. He came to the Most High. Read.
And they brought him near before him.
So Christ was brought before the Father. So what is that showing us? Christ and the Most High, two separate powers. How can Christ be God when he's being brought to the Ancient of Days? So Daniel is actually seeing Christ going up into the heavens, meeting the Father after finishing his work here on earth. Let's go back to Daniel. Read.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 14.
Go ahead.
And there was given him dominion and glory.
There was given Christ dominion and glory. And guess what? It was given to him when he went to the heavens. It's just that it's going to take time within this earth for those promises to be fulfilled. But Christ got full dominion when he went to the heavenly realm. And now he's just waiting for his Father to say, son, it's time to finish it. Go now. But from that time that he went into the heaven, he began establishing the kingdom. So then a spirit came, one seal was broken, and the truth began to be taught throughout the earth, and God's people began to wake up. That was the Most High sending the Holy Spirit in this time to start moving his people on one side. The same way when Moses drew his line in the sand, and the Most High said, Moses, stand on one side. For everyone that's going to follow you, tell them to stand on one side. Everyone else will be utterly destroyed. When the Holy Spirit came down and the truth began to be proclaimed, it was up to our people to choose a side because Christ have already declared victory. He have already won. So now it's us as individuals stepping on his side before the Father tell him, son, go finish it. Read.
And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion.
His dominion is a what?
Everlasting dominion.
Everlasting dominion. One moment here. Hold your place. All right. Go ahead.
And his dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away.
Which shall not pass away. Read on.
And his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. Daniel was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this.
So Daniel was disturbed when he awakened from this vision. He didn't even understand what it was. So he had to go to an angel. An angel had to break it down to him and show him to ease him. Just imagine, this is worse than your worst nightmare. You're seeing all these beasts operating out of the earth, being destroyed, and he's looking at this nightmare. And he knew that it was a vision sent from the Most High, but had no understanding. So an angel broke it down for him. Read.
So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts which are four kings.
They are four kings.
Which shall arise out of the earth.
Shall arise out of the earth, which we know when you link in the precepts. It's kingdoms. Read.
Verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
But God's people will eventually do what?
Shall take the kingdom.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and what?
And possess the kingdom forever, even forever and forever and ever.
And forever and forever and ever. Now, why does it say the Most High's people will take the kingdom? At the end of every empire, there was an uprising of our people that eventually destroyed that kingdom and ushered in a new kingdom. Even during the time of the Maccabees, when they was building a temple and operating, they was actually working against the Grecian Empire. At the end of the Roman Empire, you had Placidius Niger, Septimius Severus, which is also in your lesson. They were two black generals who worked internally to take down Rome. Now, America, those that control America, the elite powers that understand what's going on and know history, they see the same thing now that our people are awakening. They cannot control us. Why? Because they seen in prior empires the Most High would awaken us, and we would not fight to help the country. We would work to tear it down. We would work against the beast. So they know it's coming again. So they're planning for a mass revolution and to engage us so that they can actually ward off prophecy and stay longer. You understand? So it's to their benefit if we're ignorant. Because once we receive the knowledge of the truth, we can no longer be utilized under their empire. We used against them now, and that's why they're trying to label people terrorists. Now there's going to be a mark of the beast, which is what you would call a mark of the great empire. It's the mark of the great empire. Now, I remember the last one we did. There was a breakthrough on the beast. I mean, on the mark. You remember what I went through that last part? We had a breakthrough on that mark. I didn't document it. I'll probably have to go look at it again.
I know it goes into information on the mark.
Yeah.
As you go towards the end.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's contained in that.
Okay. But let's go to Revelations 13 to show you that that last empire will have a mark. Okay. Now that's why from each empire, the Roman Empire realized that they can only do but so much because the majority of the population had the understanding of how to grow their own foods, how to do certain things to sustain beyond government. So the Roman Empire was working under Satan back then to try to put value on things and control the finances with a coin or with some level of institutionalized bartering and which government can control. Unless they first made money, they could not then make the mark of the beast. They had to take commerce out of the hands of the everyday layman and have government control what money is. Okay, so that's why they set up a system, a corporate system in which you have product that must be purchased with some ticket or something that the government gives you. Why? Because now they've transitioned everything into what? The mark of the beast. You understand? Where everything has a label. When you go to your stores, you see they can just run your stuff through. Do. Everything has a mark. The only thing that haven't been marked are us. Now, when it says mark of the beast, it's talking about the beast, the empires that went from one empire to the next, up into the last. And there's a mark that show your allegiance to either Satan or you have the mark that's been placed on us by the heavenly angels. There's only two marks. You either got the mark of the beast or you got the mark of the elect. All right? Before I go into the mark of the beast, let's go into the mark of the elect in Ezekiel real quick.
Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4.
Go ahead.
And the Most High said unto him, Go through the midst of the city.
Go through the midst of the city.
Through the midst of Jerusalem.
Through the midst of Jerusalem. We know Jerusalem belonged to Israel.
And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations.
So these are the men that cry and sigh for all the evil that is done into the earth. The Most High have the angels mark certain men. Usually receive this mark upon baptism. Read.
For all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. And to the others he said in my hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young children.
Slay utterly young and old.
Both maids and little children, and women.
And women. Read.
But come not near any man upon whom is the mark.
But don't come near any person that have my mark. So it's obvious that if the Most High have a mark that will seal his elect, Satan, being a copycat, will try to institute his mark in the earth, where he'll put a mark on everyone who trusts and believe in him. And if you don't follow him, of course, he'll go through and kill and destroy anyone that don't have his mark. See that? So he know that the Most High have a mark, a spiritual mark on the elect, that no one can touch you if you have this mark. Satan have the same in the physical realm. But he had to first get the population of the earth dependent on him and set up a system in which you have no control over products, in which he would own how you clean yourself, how you nourish yourself. He would own how you live, to the point where you must depend on him and bow to him and receive his mark and accept him as God. And that's the time that we're living in. This is the generation of the mark of the beast. Showing your allegiance to one side or the other. We believe that the mark is in us through the Holy Spirit that will guide us from the pearls to come. We believe that the mark is also attached to the Most High's name. I'm talking about the true mark, not the mark of the beast, the mark of the Most High. Let's go there in Revelations.
Revelations chapter 14, verse 1.
Revelations 14 and 1.
And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000,
144,000.
having his Father's name written in their foreheads.
Having his Father's name written in their foreheads.
And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters.
Read that verse again. 14
verse
and 1 again.
And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Zion,
Christ stood on Mount Zion.
and with him 144,000,
144,000. These are the leaders right under the 12 disciples. Read.
having his Father's name written in their foreheads.
Having the what?
Having his Father's name written
In their foreheads. Go back to Ezekiel 9 and 4 again.
Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4.
Read.
And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city.
Go through God's people, because Jerusalem is wherever God's people are. We're no longer in Jerusalem. So it's speaking of where we inhabit, our lands. Read.
Through the midst of Jerusalem.
Through the midst of God's people.
And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men.
What is the mark? The Most High's name written in our foreheads. So don't tell me the name of the Most High is not important. The majority of people out there got the mark of the Tetragrammaton, which leads back to 666, the mark of a man. What man? The man of perdition. Who's that? Satan. What people do we have set up? The Jewish powers, who are Romans, who are now executing the mark of the beast within this earth. So you must know the Most High's name. That's the mark. Because that is what's going to be used to pray and bring forth the spirit of protection, like when we came out of Egypt. That's why the Most High, before he delivered Israel, before he delivered us out of Egypt, he gave Moses his name. Okay? That's quite important. That's the mark that the Most High written in our foreheads. Because we're going to need to pray and bring the spirit of angels to protect us in this time of trouble. Stuff is about to break down soon. So I can't elaborate enough on this. It's enough teaching and bringing forth information, but not giving you the understanding of the importance of what you would need when it's time would be futile. The name is written in our foreheads. It's Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. That is the mark of the Most High. Those know him, know his name. Now let's go back to the mark of the beast, Revelations 13. You can't speak of the beasts or empires and not break down their mark. Read.
Revelations chapter 13, verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
Go ahead.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
So now the Most High is saying at the end of their empire, these beasts that controlled us, it's coming back around. Galatians 6 and 7. You can't enslave a people and not think that one day it will not happen to you. All these empires that were shown Daniel were temporary empires, which were actually punishment for God's people. But now that we're coming back to him, the curse will be now turned on the Gentiles. It's their turn now. So the Gentiles who are in Christ, they better move away from their gods almost immediately and acknowledge the true God of the Hebrews. Because the Most High is going to send a serious visitation on all the Gentiles and their idols, and they will be utterly wasted. So if they hold to their religions that are out there, they will die in their religions. Read.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
And Rome was known as the Iron Age. Why? Because they had weaponry like iron. And they were known for killing. They were able to set up their empire through blood. So what goes around comes around. You set up an empire on the sword, eventually you fall by the sword. Read.
Here's the patience and the faith of the saints.
This is what the saints are waiting for. We're waiting for retribution, not to execute retribution ourselves, for vengeance is the Most High's. Read.
Verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
2 horns. He as a lamb, but spake as a dragon. And that's how they operate. They operate very docile. They operate as if they won't harm you. But really, war is in their heart. And I would actually compare this to what we would call in America the modern day liberals, with these social programs who claim they're coming to help us and help our children get off the street and choose right and all that. These liberal programs, people who engage you and want to help you and claim that they're here to help domestic violence and help us do certain things. These people are like lambs, but really they can't stand our existence. They want us dead. And I would like to say these are I would say the majority of the so-called Democrat Party, even though Democrats and Republicans are both the same, but at least the Republicans, you know how they feel. The Democrats, they operate as a lamb. So this is actually talking about their political system, how they operate with us. They act all soft and come in nice suits and speak nicely, but they worship the dragon. They worship Satan. Read.
Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him.
So it shows you that this new beast that's coming, which we know as America, exercises all the spirituality, the dark spirit of all the beasts that came before it. That's why America built the architecture after Rome. That's why they teach you Greek mythology within your schools. That's why in your Christian churches they teach you Babylonian paganism and say that it's Christ and Mary. See? It's all the empires wrapped up into one. That's why when you go shopping and you go out and you go to buy yourself clothes, you got the Asian store, you got the Arab store, you got the Ishmael store, you got the Chinese store. You got all the empires that now makes up America. You see that? Read.
Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Whose deadly wound was healed. Now, when was Rome's deadly wound was healed? It was healed when America was assumed again as the superpower. That's why France sent America the Statue of Liberty. Now, Rome was wounded by us, 193 AD. Okay, in 193, we began to go against them and take them down under Septimius Severus and Pescennius Niger. Okay, so what happened after that? They went into their little conclaves in Causaria and restructured their plan and say, well, okay, we can't come out like we're Roman emperors anymore. They know us now. We must now come under the auspices of politics and religion so that they cannot identify us as the people of Rome. See? At one time, they just came out as the oligarchy, or what you would call, the monarchy of Rome. But they had to change their game because everyone started to recognize them as the children of Satan. So they switched it up. While we ruled Europe, they changed their game so that now they come through religion now and politics, opposed to them being a monarchy. So they made themselves many tentacles so that you can't point to them as one empire. When really they're Romans, they're Causarians, they're Satan's children. Read.
Verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven.
And it's talking about the technology that America had. And people in the Christian church talking about where the Antichrist is going to come and fire going to come down from heaven. No, it's talking about an empire with technology, like you see lasers coming out of the sky in Iraq. Lasers coming out of the sky in their warfare. It's talking about their technology opposed to ancient Rome. So the beast is already exercising his power. You don't got to wait for the beast. The beast is here. Read.
So that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
On the sight of men. That's talking of what? Nuclear capability, laser capability, top technology in their weaponry. Read.
Verse 14. And deceiveth them which that dwell on the earth.
And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth.
By the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
So they actually deceive the world with their technology. This is how they put the world in fear. Always doing some type of show of how much power they have. And I think they do it through the movies too. That's why in all their movies, they put in the technology that you haven't seen yet. That makes you wonder after them and say, well, listen, nobody can take them down and fear them. But their technology is nothing. When Christ comes back, he's going to take them down with zero effort. Okay? All that great power. Satan is going to be quaking in his boots when Christ is on his way back. When he see it becomes all dark. And then Christ is the only light entering this atmosphere. Satan is he's going to totally crumble into a corner someplace. Okay? All their space junk fall into the earth. That's future. Read.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast.
Make an image to the beast.
Which had the wound by a sword and did live.
Go ahead.
And he that, this is verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Now, how could they make an image of the beast? Well, Hollywood did it. How did they do it? They came in what you would call moving pictures. And instead of having a picture that's still, which was like Cesar Borgia, they came with a screen, a live screen that can give you an image of what you were supposed to be, opposed to what the Most High said you should be. So everyone must follow this particular lifestyle that you are being shown from this picture, this image. If you don't follow the lifestyle they're actually programming you to be, then you're not part of the beast system. So you must desire and want the things from this particular image. They did this through Hollywood. Read.
Verse 16. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor.
So he calls of all. When it says it calls, they would make scenarios up that would lead to everyone, whether you small, great, rich, poor, to all desire or to agree to take on a mark. And it says cause to show you that they're doing things to create this. See? False flags, real things they do. But it all will cause everyone to eventually buy into their system. And the Christians, they're just off of they're not even in the arena of fighting against this. They're on another planet somewhere. Because they're still waiting for this to be an antichrist. Which is utterly ridiculous. They still saying that they're waiting for the Pope to sit in Rome someplace. Or sit, he's already in Rome, sit in Jerusalem. They're waiting for prophecies that was made up by the Jesuits. Read.
And he calls of all, both small and great.
Small and great. Doesn't matter how small you are, how great you are.
Rich and poor.
Doesn't matter how much money you have.
Free and bond.
Whether you in jail or walking around free.
To receive a mark in their right hand.
In their right hand.
Or in their foreheads.
Or in their foreheads. What is this? This is the RFID chip. That's what this is. Everything has been labeled except you. Okay? But see, I know how they're going to do it. It's crystal clear. I was able to go into my computer and notice that there's a new Microsoft update for biometrics. I'm like, what do they have this biometrics thing downloaded into Microsoft now? See, we're so dependent on computers, they're going to make it where you're going to need biometrics to actually access your computer and access the internet. And they've gotten us so dependent on the computers that a lot of us are going to yield ourselves to begin to operate our biometrics with these particular computers. And eventually, you're not going to be able to access your finances or nothing, because everything's going to be through your internet. You're not going to be access your finances or nothing, be able to pay your bills or anything unless you are chipped. You're not going to be able to come to the internet. Nothing unless you are chipped. They had to first set up a platform and get the whole world dependent on it. All right? And some people, there's a lot of businesses that can't thrive without the internet right now. The internet is the source of income in which the whole earth thrives to stay afloat business-wise. So they're going to hook everything to biometrics. And with the new healthcare plan, if you want welfare and all that, it's not going to be no choice. It's going to be just like going down and getting your vaccine. Okay? And they're going to make that RFID chip less intrusive. They may make it even smaller. But it's coming. Read.
And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads.
Go ahead.
Verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark.
So you're not going to be able to get any products unless you have the mark. And I would like to say this. When you look into going into other places and when you look into traveling abroad, have in mind places that have food in an abundance just growing. Have that in mind. Okay? Always have in mind a way to be able to have resources outside of this system. Because if you're in the Western world, there's no way, especially if you're in these inner cities, there's no way you're going to be able to have your own food. Buy or sell, read.
Save he that had the mark,
Except he that have the mark,
or the name of the beast,
or the name of the beast,
or the number of his name.
or the number of his name. Read.
Verse 18. Here is wisdom.
Here is the wisdom of breaking this down, because when you look at the mark, it's the word charagma. It's on your page 14. It says a scratch or etching, that is a stamp as a badge of servitude. It's a stamp as a badge of servitude. So you're showing that you are like a dog eating from the master's hand. Okay? And if you receive this mark, I don't care what the churches tell you. If you receive this mark voluntarily, especially after knowing what this is, there's no hope, because the spirit that they're going to utilize is going to take over your neurological senses, and it will control you. All right? You will no longer be who you are. You're going to be something different. They're going to turn you into a cyborg. And that's why it tells us in Revelation 14 that if you take this mark, there's no hope for you. There's no, listen, it's over. It's over if you take this mark. That means, first of all, you have no faith. Okay? You have no faith. If you, and the preachers and all of them going to, that's why they push the prosperity movement first. So that now preachers can say, if you are doing bad, or you know, you don't have what others have, you're not blessed. They put that perception into spiritual people and those that love the Most High. They change the doctrine into a prosperity doctrine so that you will think that if your lifestyle change, you're not blessed. If the Most High bring you down some, that you're not blessed. That's a psychological play into the mark of the beast. It's okay to be brought low. Christ didn't have a place to lay his head. It's okay to be brought low. The Most High will bring you up in due time. Never lose faith. He will have you in the worst place today, and the Most High the next day will have you into something different, if you believe and trust. If you believe. They tell you in Revelation 14, let's get it. What will happen for those that take the mark?
Revelation chapter 14, verse 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear the Most High and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. And worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the foundation of water, or the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
See that? Read.
Verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast or his image.
If you worship the beast, that means you desire this beast and the image that really came from America. That Hollywood perception of what you should be all came from the great whore. And it emanated throughout the whole earth. Everyone wants to be American. But really, it's an image. It's an unattainable lifestyle. What you see on TV is not real. It cannot ever be realized. It's an image. It's a dream. And most people lose their soul trying to capture the spirit of what they see on TV. Read.
If any man worship the beast and his image.
If you worship the beast, that means you love something about this beast, which is Satan at the helm of it. Read.
And receive his mark in his forehead.
And you receive the mark of Satan. Read.
Or in his hand.
Read.
The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High.
You will be destroyed. Read.
Which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
Exactly. And also, even before this, something is going to happen to you if you get the mark. Let's go to the one where it says, shall break out on them a grievous sore.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 2.
Even before this happened, this is what's going to happen before that. Read.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth.
Go ahead.
And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast.
There was a grievous sore on the men who had the mark of the beast. So what's going to happen? A lot of this radiation going down. You got radiation coming out of computers, out of your cell phone. And imagine you having this in your flesh. What's going to happen? And you can actually type it into Google. Showing someone with a sore right on their hand where they got the mark of the beast. And what happens? It poisons the bloodstream. Okay? So the Bible even speaks of a grievous sore will break out on everyone that what?
Upon the men which have the mark of the beast.
Which have the mark of the beast.
And upon them which worship his image.
And those that worship the image. So the Most High is going to make people sick that have it. It's going to be your death. So it's going to all be presented initially as something nice, as something convenient. Oh, you don't have to worry about your health records. The doctor know exactly. Listen, I could care less about a doctor knowing anything. Get out of my business, okay? Unless I got a broken bone. As a matter of fact, if I got a broken bone, I think I know how to deal with that too. They don't do nothing but hold your leg still and put and wrap your leg. These people are death doctors. And they're going to use the healthcare system. They're going to use the financial system. They're going to use every system they have in place to lead our people directly to hell. And they're going to definitely use the religious system, especially the Christian prosperity movement. So you have a choice. We showed you the beast, their empires, and we also show you the mark in which they will institute within the earth for those with no faith. I hope we handled this pretty good. I hope you got a lot of information and precepts that can help you along in your studies going forward. And we like to say all praises be to the Most High. All right. With that, we're going to open this up for questions. And before I do that, let me